this morning, for example, I would be surprised if my home is still there.
Yeah, we were just talking about that. The Palisades is on fire.
Yeah.
My friend Tom Segura, his house is gone.
Yeah.
This is where he used to live. He sold it, luckily.
Yeah, I have a son. He's in the sort of volunteer fire brigade, Milo. I call him the mayor of Malibu. And he's running around. And I asked him, how's things looking there, Milo? He says, not good, Pops. He says, your neighborhood. And he sent me a video of my neighborhood, and it's in flames. It looks like an inferno. So, yeah.
Do you think this will get you out of California finally?
Yeah, maybe.
Where are you going to go?
Oh, I don't know. I got a place in Costa Rica. I love it
there.
Yeah.
Costa Rica's nice.
Yeah, I bought there many years ago. And it's in a real nice spot. It's not too touristy or, dirt roads. So it's off the beaten.
Does it feel safe out there?
Pretty safe. I think, look, no place is safe. I mean, you've got the Darien down there,
What's that?
It's kind of in the what's the next country down? Panama. Mm-hmm. And there's this no man's land where the Colombians come through, and it's like, all kinds of dirty dealings in the jungle with, who knows, drugs and mules and,
Yeah, we were just talking about the wildfire situation and how crazy it is that they spent $24 billion last year on the homeless.
Yeah.
And what did they spend on preventing these wildfires?
Zero.
Zip.
And in 2019, I think Newsom said, I'm going to take care of the forests and maintain the forests and do all that kind of stuff. He didn't do anything.
And then on top of that, they cut the water off.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, it's all funny. And then I think all our tax dollars probably went for Gavin's hair gel. I don't know, but it's like, it's sad. It's like the place is just on fire.
Well, the whole state is just so poorly managed. It's so it's so frustrating and confusing. And then he gets on TV and pretends like everything's great. Mm-hmm. And California's the best. We have the best state. We have the most amazing economy. And like, you're out of your fucking mind, dude. You've ruined this state. Like, personally ruined it.
Well, it's the same team that was up in San Francisco, and they came down to L.A., and they're doing what they did in San Francisco. And San Francisco's kind of like apocalyptic now,
Yeah.
I went there, and it's just like people, homeless. It's a mess.
It's just unbelievable that society can crumble that quickly.
Mm-hmm.
It really is unbelievable.
It doesn't take long.
No.
Yeah. I read a book once by Jared Diamond called Collapse. Mm-hmm. Have you ever read that book?
Yeah.
Crazy, right? It says all the things you need for a civilization to cave in and collapse. And a lot of the things are present. All those earmarks, the precursors of a collapse, they're present in our time. So it's an interesting observation.
Yeah.
And we're no smarter than our grandparents, I don't think.
Well, that brings me to one of my favorite movies of yours, is Apocalypto.
Oh, yeah.
When the Mayans were running things, like, who could have ever thought, when they had such an incredibly sophisticated society, unbelievable construction, like the stuff that they had built, that one day you would just walk through there and there's nothing. Nothing and nobody.
In fact, there's something, because it's interesting. Somebody was flying by what they thought was a volcano in the 30s, some buzzboy. And he thought, hey, somebody built that. Wait a minute, there's 4 by 8 foot bricks. That's man-made. And it is literally the biggest pyramid in the world. It's bigger than the ones in Egypt, and it's in Guatemala.
Yeah, we talked about that the other day. Yeah, it's a recent discovery, right?
Well, not that recent. I was, maybe 20 years ago, I visited. I went down there with the archaeologist, a guy named Richard Hansen, who's from Idaho or someplace. And he's down there with his family. He's been working tirelessly for like 30 years.
In this fascinating clip from JRE number 1284, Graham Hancock explores the mystery of the Olmec civilization.
I explored the Olmec mystery in considerable depth. It's considered to be the earliest high culture of Central America. Everybody's heard about the Aztecs. Everybody's heard about the Maya. But before the Aztecs and before the Maya, there were a culture who are referred to as the Olmecs. Again, we don't know what they called themselves. That's what the Aztecs called them. They called them the Olmecs, and it means the rubber people, because that rubber-producing area of Mexico. They worked in giant megalithic constructions. What they're most famous for is these huge carved human heads, which can be on a scale of up to 20 to 25 tons in weight, and which have curious features which have been interpreted variously as Polynesian, African, don't look like classic Native American features.
Keep that up.
But one of the things I've realized is that there is no classic Native American feature. That Native Americans are have a very complex genetic story with very many different elements brought into it.
Joe goes on to ask Graham if he knows what the helmets are.
Nobody knows, because no physical example of such a helmet has ever been found, just like no physical example of an Egyptian pharaoh's crown has ever been found. All we see is the stone reproductions of them. There's another fascinating figure from La Venta, one of the Olmec sites, which is the earliest ever image of a plumed or feathered serpent. The feathered serpent is a famous icon. Sitting in the middle of it is this human figure who's holding this strange bag in his hand. And it's just a fact that those identical bags are found in ancient Sumer in the hands of individuals who were considered to be civilization bringers, and they also show up on Pillar 43 at Göbekli Tepe. I call them man bags. And in that case, at Göbekli Tepe, we know they're at least 11,600 years old.
Graham then tells Joe that other skulls have been found in Brazil with similar features to the Olmec heads, suggesting a broader pattern of diversity in ancient populations across the Americas.
It's been known by archaeologists for quite a long time that there are anomalous skulls in parts of Brazil, which appear to show very strongly Polynesian or African features, very much like the features that we see on the Olmec heads. And a number of archaeologists who got into trouble with their colleagues for this have used that to argue many years ago, 30, 40 years ago, that the settlement story of the Americas is much more complicated than we've realized.
Graham then tells Joe that there is genetic evidence indicating that Polynesians and Aboriginal peoples may have had a presence in the Amazon, which could potentially explain the distinctive facial features seen in the Olmec sculptures. He concludes by highlighting the cultural and symbolic links between the Olmecs and the later civilizations of the region.
But what's fascinating about them is they are supposedly the first high civilization of Central America, that they create structures on a massive scale, that you can see connections between them and the later Maya. That whole mystery of the Mayan calendar was clearly inherited from the Olmecs. It wasn't something the Maya made up. The Olmecs used that same symbolism. So the Mayan calendar is actually an Olmec calendar. And if we then consider the possibility that the Olmecs may just be the latest, the earliest surviving manifestation of that calendar, it could go back much further than that.